something. Love me, love, love me, love.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I have a special guest with me. Come on. We're in the dark because we are about to react to 4 really creepy true Home Alone stories. So we're probably not gonna react to all 4. Probably gonna react to like 1 or 2. Depends on how long they are. So let me start the screen recording. Let's go.
I live in Sydney, Australia. This happened when I was 15 and home alone. It was about 9 p.m. and I was just coming out of the bathroom when I heard my front gate swing open and my dog begin barking. Across the hall, I saw someone run past the porch window and into the backyard. I was able to vaguely make out what he looked like. He was hunched over, had sickly pale skin, was wearing all black, and had long, messy black hair partially covering his face. I went into the living room to see what was going on. My dog was still at the front door growling. Since I hadn't seen the guy return, this meant he was still somewhere in my backyard. I waited at the door for a while when another, more normal-looking guy walked onto the porch and came right up to the security bars. I don't remember all the details, but our conversation went something along the lines of him saying, "Hey, have you seen my friend?" I replied, "Yeah, I think he's in my backyard." He replied saying, "Okay, because I've been following this random guy all over the place. I think he's on drugs and might be dangerous." This struck me as weird though. What did he mean by this random guy when he had just called him his friend?
Right.
He quickly walked away, going off into the darkness towards my yard. I should also mention that there's a door around back, but that also has security bars in front of it, and the door was locked at the time. I waited at the front door for a bit, then sat back down. After about 2 minutes of waiting, the guy I spoke with walked back onto the porch and looked in through the security bars. He now had the pale, potentially drugged out guy with him, who was pacing back and forth in an agitated manner. I went to the door to see what he wanted. He said, "Hey, sorry man, I just found him. Look, he's really nervous. He'd like if you unlocked the door and came out here, just so we can see that you're harmless." I felt the pain in my chest. The creepy, drugged out guy had stopped pacing now and was standing unnaturally still, staring me dead in the eyes. There was an uncomfortable silence. I didn't say anything, but stepped forward to push the French door shut, causing the second guy to lunge at me and shove his hand through the bars towards me. I jumped back and slammed the door shut with my foot, bolting it.
Did he open the door?
I called my parents, and they called
I
the
think
police.
so. He cried to them.
When the police arrived, they told me about a break-in that had occurred just down the street less than an hour ago. As far as I know, they never found the 2 guys. Looking back, it's likely that the first guy ran into the backyard to try to find a way in, and the second guy went to help him, which is why they were back there for so long. What disturbs me is the fact that they didn't want to just break in, nor did the fact that I was home to terror them. They wanted me to come outside to them, or to get into where I was.
Okay, story number 2.
I'm Mike. I'm Jed. I'm Mark. And we're
Shut
looking
up.
crazy idea
Why
to
do we
start
open the
a farm in South
door?
Texas.
You know, like,
Everything
like
else
that,
farms are small as a kid growing
I
up.
don't care. Better or not, I'm not opening the door.
Over half a million pounds of produce every year.
Open the door and it's like
Swiss
that
chard,
middle
and
door.
kale.
I don't care. I'm not opening the door. Let me see the shrimp first one.
This
I open a regular door, not the.
I wouldn't open nothing. Nothing. He did.
Thursday night, my mom was working a late shift at the hospital. My 2 brothers were away at college.
This is the same nigga
Time
talking.
being, I had the house to myself.
He the narrator.
I had a couple
I thought that really had to tell me story number 1. I thought he was telling a
I
story.
think he's just telling like stories that he.
Okay, y'all, so we back with another story. It's 3 true neighbor horror stories. We're gonna watch part 1, and yeah. So here goes. You ready? You scared? Girl,
Boy,
Girl.
Boy.
No way.
I'm currently in a predicament, and quite frankly, I don't know what to do. I'll start from the beginning.
It's from
5 years ago, my next door neighbor Charlie, or Charles as we call him, informed us of his 14-year-old son's disappearance. He reported it to the police, it was on the news, it was everywhere. Me and my wife felt absolutely awful and always offered to help them out in any way we could. As the years passed with no word of their son, we assumed they eventually came to terms with it and realized the worst had probably happened. Me and my wife never had the nerve to ask if the body ever turned up. Occasionally, Charles and his wife would invite me and my wife over for a barbecue during the warmer months. We noticed neither of the two were ever the same since their son had gone missing. Charles' wife Kathy was always quieter and more reserved, and Charles just seemed more awkward and nervous, both understandable to a certain extent. Fast forward a couple of years later to just last week. Charles came over to me when I was taking out the garbage and asked to borrow a shovel. Without hesitation, I ran to get him my best shovel, not asking why he needed it. He thanked me and said he just had to do some work in his backyard and he'd get it back to me by tomorrow. He then disappeared into his backyard. I went inside, and when I was by one of my upstairs windows that has a clear view into Charlie's backyard, I could see he was digging out a really big hole in the ground. He seemed to be struggling a bit. He's 56 after all.
I will not be looking.
I figured I'd go grab my second shovel and help him out.
What?
As I entered his backyard and called his name, he looked up from what he was doing, dropped my shovel, and hurried over to me, saying, No, it's okay, Tim, I got it. Please, just leave. I said, What's wrong with you? It's not a big deal. Mainly because of his bizarre reaction. He told me I will not allow you to use that shovel in my backyard, and then pointed to the gate as if I were a dog. I was so taken aback by how he was acting that I just left without saying another word. I went upstairs to spy on him through the window. He was digging the hole for at least another half hour. When it finally looked like he was done, he started looking around, like up high at neighboring houses as if to check and make sure nobody was watching. Then, before I could think to hide, he spotted me at my window.
Dummy!
Watched me walk away. He's up to something, and I wanted to find out what.
I think he's
I
right.
continued to look in his backyard every so often, but he wasn't digging anymore. I figured he knew I was watching now and would wait until it was dark out. And I was exactly right. At 1:30 in the morning, I heard the sound of a shovel hitting the dirt outside. It was too dark to see anything from my window now, so I snuck outside quietly and looked over the fence.
Girl!
I could see him digging loud and clear now.
That's so fake.
When he went inside his house, I took that opportunity to sneak into his backyard and take a look at what was in the hole he was digging.
You white, bruh.
The moonlight alone revealed a small piece of a black garbage bag protruding from the dirt at the bottom of the hole. I looked at his back door and back at the hole. I did this 3 more times, deciding whether or not to see what was in the bag.
No, go home. You shouldn't be
In the end, I
outside.
decided to run back to my backyard, and it was a good thing I did, because he came back outside seconds later. But he wasn't digging.
Oh.
In fact, he disappeared to the other side of his house and didn't come back. I went back into my house and quietly got back into bed, trying not to wake up my wife. The next day, the first thing I did was look out my window to see that the hole in the ground was completely patched up in Charles' backyard. I also noticed that his SUV was parked in the street now instead of his driveway. I don't know what happened throughout the rest of that night, but I'm disturbed to think that what was at the bottom of that hole might have been his son's body. For all I know, he dug up that hole to remove whatever he had previously buried down there and drive it somewhere else to dump it. This is all speculation. Call me crazy if you want. I haven't told anyone, not even my wife. And quite frankly, I don't know what to do. Charles never gave me back my shovel. I'm not going to ask him for it. In fact, he's been avoiding me ever since.
Right.
Something I, by coincidence, happened to look out my window across to Charlie's house and caught him standing at one of his windows looking into mine.
That's from
He saw me,
Disturbia.
He shut his blinds, and that was in the middle of the day. I have no idea what to do, but I'm honestly terrified.
Girl, you ever seen Disturbia? That's from a movie. We gonna watch it tonight.
What is it about?
I've lived in 3 houses in my life. 2 with my family at my current house. But
Hey guys, that's it for today's video. I know I look real, so I just gotta make it. My intro. A new intro, because I got a new YouTube name, so I made a new intro. So you guys,
Stay tuned
for the next video, which will be
Freshman
freshman advice.
for all my lovely freshmen.
Bye.
Loves me, love, tell you something. Loves me, love, tells me